James, welcome on, man. I'm excited to have you.
No, it's good to be here, man.
So, absolute pleasure to meet you. I've been following your content for a while now. And until recently, didn't really put a name or a face to a name, really, because a lot of the content that you post is sort of faceless, I guess. It's just the Twitter posts. So, really excited to kind of put a voice and a face to a name, especially with the organization and more of the videos that you've been posting lately.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, I didn't show my face for about 3 years there. Um, but I'm back now.
Was that intentional, or was it just sort of the
It just kind of
nature of what you
happened.
were posting?
Yeah, no, it just kind of happened. Like I got into the movement for a completely different reason that I'm in it now. And I think in like 2022, 2023, like I just decided to like kind of back out and focus more on God and um, like learning the gospel and actually learning how to like articulate it and speak it. And then after Charlie Kirk died, I came back and I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start, actually. So, kind of take me through what first got you into this area, and then I do want to eventually move into Rewaken USA that you've just started. But specifically, how did you get into the conservative political movement, and then also take me through your journey? I know everybody wants to have the prototypical like come to Jesus story of like how they met Jesus, but tell me about your personal story and how you got into this kind of category of media.
Yeah. So in 2020, like I came out like a lot of people did after they saw the civil unrest in the country. I came out against Black Lives Matter. I also came out against my brother John. He was a kind of like a Black Lives Matter, more of an anarchist leader um, in Utah, and he had a protest where someone was shot at that he had organized, and myself and about 30,000 other Utahns rose up, and it was the start of the conservative militia movement that was a response to Black Lives Matter. So I did that, and worked with different leaders within Utah to eventually like kind of unseat my brother. Um, Rose from that to being branded as a psyop in during January 6th because I was related to John, and a lot of people created conspiracy theories about me and
Hmm.
him. He ultimately went to January 6th as Jaden X. He was the Antifa quote unquote member there, and I was one of the people that helped expose that, helped expose the other people that were there, other than him. And
Yeah.
after all that happened, after all that defamation was kind of put to rest and the truth started coming out about me, I decided to take a step back and focus more on my family, building out my career, and also, you know, like getting into the word, into the gospel. And I went under a mentorship at the end of 2023. And I have been, and I came back, I think in 2024 as a more faith based. All I really care about is God and culture. I don't really care about
Yeah.
politics. Recently on tour, I was asked who my favorite politician was, and I couldn't name it because I only care about Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father.
I think that's a great position to take. Obviously, that sounds like a really dark time. What's kind of your relationship like with your brother now?
Non existent.
Hmm. Yeah, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
Well, I can honestly say you're definitely making a difference now in the direction of Christianity and separating yourself from necessarily political and conservatism. But at the same time, I think those two things are so deeply intertwined with each other, because I like to make the analogy of to me at least, Christianity is the why we do things. These are the moral grounds in which we stake kind of our beliefs that we move through with our lives through. And then to me, conservatism is the how, right? Like the actual, this is what we're going to implement into our society on a day-to-day basis to actually best facilitate Christianity as a society.
No, of course. Yeah. No, 110%. For me, it's like people can do both, and some of them do it well. Some of them do it very mediocrely on both sides.
Mhm.
For me, I believe that everyone has a calling, has has a place, and I chose to choose one over the other. I still comment on politics,
Yeah.
if it's relevant to like my messaging, but I kind of stepped away from it because the thing is that I believe in 2020 when Charlie Kirk came out, not 2020, but 2015 when Charlie Kirk came out, it was to awaken the political majority, silent majority, and I believe in 2025 and on, the new silent majority is the lukewarm Christians within the body of Christ, who have yet to rise, and that's what I want to focus on. There's a lot of politicians can be corrupted. You can vote for a politician, and then I've seen a lot of people like defend actions of different people, different politicians. But the thing is that you don't have to defend God, because He was the same yesterday as He is today. So advocating for Him and Jesus Christ is something that I've dedicated my life to.
Yeah. Tell me about this organization that you've started.
Yeah. So after Charlie died, I got a lot of increase. I was reached out to pretty much by every conservative organization, or major organization, to come in as a contributor. The contracts were not something I wanted to sign. And, I ended up going out to the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Arizona, and I went to this influencer dinner beforehand. I met Carson Carpenter and Strider Bigler with Off the Record Media. We immediately hit it off and got connected. They signed me as a contributor because their contracts were very, very well done. So we decided that my place was on college campuses. So we went to ASU. We connected with one of the college Republican chapters there, and what happened at that campus was absolutely amazing. We had, with the rhetoric that we had, or that I had, I guess, over 350 students surrounded our table. We had 120 students that we counted that went from the table out to the quad. And, there was a lot of amazing things, amazing conversations that had there, including a conversion to Jesus Christ. This one young woman who was identifying as a man, I was able to define what a relationship with Jesus Christ was with her. It's a very powerful moment. She went to church for 9 Sundays in a row, and right before Christmas, she messaged me and told me that she was baptized. And
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and she had denounced, transgenderism and accepted who God created her to be. And because of that, or before that, we had decided with the college Republicans that decided that they wanted to put me on every campus nationwide. And off the record, we sat down and we had a conversation, and they said, James, I think you should start a nonprofit. So connecting with different people that God put in my life throughout my short career as a political influencer, I was able to form an executive team in under a week, a board a week later. And November 14th, we formed Rewaken USA, or filed for Rewaken USA. In a short time after that, we signed a national partnership with the College Republicans of America, giving us access to 400 campuses nationwide. And then right after that, we signed our sponsorship of Patriot Mobile, which powered the tour and gave us the ability to do what we're doing today. I decided that I didn't want it to center around me, that there was no new Charlie Kirk, and that if this was going to happen and happen well, it needed to be done with I needed to rise with people. So I identified influencers, and we developed the Next Gen program to not only develop influencers, but to release them into culture. And then very recently, we also launched our tour. We're in Utah. We have done 4 stops so far, all at U of U, where we had a terroristic threat there. It was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Pretty interesting, I should say, actually.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was
that
was a little disturbing, but yeah.
It was. But, at the end of the day, what Rewaken USA is we're very mission specific. There's a lot of organizations that do a lot of different things. And Rewaken USA, we exist to identify, develop, and deploy the next generation of cultural leaders into culture full-time, into colleges and to high schools. And we've done that. We have our foundational team. We have about 32 stops on our calendar. We're going to be adding New York and Pennsylvania very soon. We have partnered with the Leadership Institute in DC to do the Reawaken USA Summit. And then we'll take a month break after that and then go right back on the road. So we plan to be on the road for the next 3 years. And
Dang, dude, that's awesome.
So
that's exciting.
There's a lot of young students that need to be discipled. And the thing is that, as revival was crushed by interlopers and people that, wanted to focus on exposing powers and principalities, they failed to realize that God commanded us to do two things: to expose and to expel. So what I kind of saw is that as we were exposing those powers and principalities, we opened the door for the adversary to disciple our children or the next generation. And, for us, for Reawaken USA, we decided that we weren't going to abandon the next generation in the fog of war. So our entire mission is to raise up the next generation and to make sure that, the culture and the America that we had today will be continued into generations to come.
Yeah. You mentioned, there's nobody's going to replace Charlie, but it's impossible not to see the parallels between what you're doing now and what he was doing when he was killed. And then obviously you mentioned the kind of terroristic threat that you saw the other day on that same campus. So what's kind of going through your head while you're sitting there? Like, are you worried about your safety while you're doing that? And then what kind of security are you putting in place to make sure something like that doesn't happen?
Yeah, so with the College Republicans of America, they have very good relationships with their campus PD and also local PD within the cities that we have been scheduled to go to. We also have an amazing security team, personal security to our influencers that coordinate directly with the campus PD. But I will say this, that before we started this tour, we kind of sat down as influencers and we realized with the capability that we have with Reawaken USA, our partners within the coalition that we are part of, that our names are both benefit us and also put us in extreme danger in the months to come. And that the work that we're going to do is something that's going to anger the adversary in a very big way. So yeah, we kind of decided that, other than, getting life insurance policies so our families were taken care of just in case, that this is something that we'll both succeed in and something that could very well take our lives. And the thing is that, several other influencers, I'd like to put that all in my organization, but you have influencers like Cam Higbee, Nick Sorter, and Nick Shirley that are out there doing the exact same thing that we are, doing the work that matters, getting out from behind the screens and going out and making sure that this country continues to go forward. And, it's why you don't see every influencer doing it, because there is a risk that is involved. And my team and myself have accepted that risk. So when that happened, we mocked it, just like Elijah. We adopted the spirit of Elijah and we mocked him. And the incredible thing is that his colleagues that were there were actually telling him to stop, not because they didn't want us to get it on camera, but because on camera they had said that these guys are actually really cool. We don't agree with them, but you shouldn't do that. That's horrible. Yeah. And the topic, very ironically, was the left is more violent than the right. So prove us wrong. And I guess we won that topic.
Proved you right. Yeah.
Showed the video.
That wasn't the point of the exercise.
Yeah, we can just show the video now. We don't need to debate it anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. What do you think is, obviously you're going on all these different college campuses and you're interfacing with these kids that are launching into one of the most vulnerable and important processes of their lives, is moving into adulthood and becoming independent adults that are going to be voting, are going to be part of society and construct the fabric of America. What do you think the biggest spiritual battle is for them as they move into their mid to late 20s and they go out and they get a job and they're interfacing with other people every single day?
Not knowing what a relationship with Christ means. A lot of these students that we've asked this question to said it means to go to church, it means to pray or read the Bible, and those are all great things, but they don't realize a relationship with Christ is, one, observing that, he is Lord, and 2, knowing that he was resurrected, and then 3, following him above all else. A lot of these kids at school, they think they're devoid of that, or because of the lives that they're living, they can't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And the thing is that we don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. In Ephesians, it tells us that you're susceptible to the impressions and the inspirations of evil spirits or Lucifer. And we're seeing that on campus. When we look at these students, we don't see people that are enemies. We don't see psychopaths. We see people that have been wrapped in the lies of the adversary. And it's our jobs as both influencers and disciples of Christ to unwrap those lies so that these students, these fellow creations of God, can see his light and walk into it. I've done it successfully once at ASU, and what we hope to do all over the country is do it many, many more times.
Yeah. I have this hope that in the future we'll see a model of governance where we have people. I want to shout out one specific politician. I know you said you don't have favorite politicians, but I think I do. And I'm going to butcher his name, but Nick Frigidas, I think is how you pronounce his name. Yep. Dude, he is a class act. He is the real deal. And I love him for the 2 specific reasons. One is that obviously he comes at it from a biblical mindset. And I feel like if we had more people in government coming at things from a biblical mindset and we had more Christians in government, it would be less of a problem. But then secondly, he also comes at it from a point of common sense. And that was one thing that Charlie Kirk always said was that obviously all of his ideas were grounded in faith, but that each of his points were morally defensible through reason. And so that's something that I think Nick does really well. But one point that I want to make is that too often we have people say that they don't want to get into government, they don't want to be in the limelight. It would be really easy for you to say, I don't want to be in the spotlight because I don't want to take the glory away from God. I don't want it to be on me, and I don't want it to be an egotistical thing. And it's something that a lot of people would fall into. But my argument against that would be, if not you, then someone that doesn't believe in God. And what I mean by that is, if we don't have Christians moving into spaces where the camera is on them, where the attention is on them, then we're going to have people that are godless and people that don't believe in the right things getting on camera and spewing evil and lies in place of what's good and true. So can you speak to kind of what your message would be for people that are kind of on that line of like, do I want to get into this? Do I want to start spreading the word of God on a larger scale, or do I want to kind of sit on the sidelines?
Yeah. The apostles did it without security, marketing teams, or organizations behind them. They were not, most of them weren't scholars. They weren't the smartest men in the world.
They started a religion. Yeah.
And, they told everyone they could. They carried the gospel and they passed it on generation to generation. And we now have what's called the Bible because of their sacrifices. And Christians treat it like a side hobby. And, I just believe, reading the Bible, truly understanding not the plight, but the lives and the journeys of the prophet, truly understanding not the sacrifice, but what Jesus Christ did for us, the atonement and everything that it means. That alone should embolden you. I think a lot of Christians, they let their pastors tell them about the Bible. They'll open the Bible on Christmas and Easter to read the nativity, and then about the resurrection, the crucifixion and resurrection, and then they put their Bible back on the coffee table. I believe that it is something that you need to live, and that the Bible is not a novel. It's not something that needs to be digested in like a week or binge read. It's enough just to read 4 to 5 verses a day, every single day. That's more than what most Christians are doing. I'm telling you that if you do, you're gonna understand it fully and believe it fully, and want to proclaim its truth. Every single person that is out there right now that is proclaiming a God's word, live in the Bible and live in the word. And I believe to start, you need to do that. Because if you don't do that and you just go out there, you're gonna be a clout chaser. We just actually disavowed a clout chaser, or someone who was not in it for the right reasons from our organization, because we take it very seriously. We want people that are called, anointed to do what they're doing. one, for liability, because I don't have to worry about what they're going to do or say. And
Yeah.
two, because I want every single person we put our resources and our people behind, that they're going to go and fulfill God's will.
Yeah. I think biblically there is a pretty consistent pattern of seasons of messages that God gives characters in the Bible and people that lived in the Bible to proclaim to the people around them. So there's a lot of instances where people are specifically talking about certain things in their church to their congregation. Do you think you have, or God is giving you a specific message right now that he really wants you to push and he really wants to give to the young people that you're speaking to on these campuses?
Right now, the knowledge of what a relationship with Jesus Christ is. You find it surprising about how many students don't know that. It's one of the core tenets of the first season of this tour, is to let people know what that means, that you don't need to be
I mean to
perfect.
cut you off really quick. Can you just explain for the people that are maybe listening to this what that also looks like?
What
Like,
does?
like really dive into what does a relationship with Jesus look like for the people that are listening right now?
Yeah, so a relationship with Jesus, what it looks like, what it starts with, again, is observing that he's Lord, and knowing that he's resurrected. That right there gives you a relationship with Jesus Christ. Are you saved? No. But having a relationship with Jesus Christ starts there. Everyone goes through trials, or they live in trials, or they create their own trials, or living in sin, right? Jesus is literally like, when we think of the story of Peter and he pulls Peter out of the water when he falls through, that's where he is. He's standing there with his hand outstretched, ready to pull us out, and then walk on that covenant path to follow him. You just have to be willing to do that. That's the next step. You have to forsake the world to follow Jesus Christ. But to have a relationship with him, it's just acknowledging that, or knowing that he is Lord, and knowing that he was resurrected, and then praying to him and crying out to God and Jesus Christ to help you through your trials. And then once you're following him, what that relationship looks like is power. It's peace, it's joy. It is an affirmation that the world cannot give you. And, the reason why we do what we do is both to, combat the adversary, but also to let people know that power and that peace and that love and that affirmation. Because as Christians, we believe that everyone should have the knowledge and should be able to feel that at least once in their lifetime.
Yeah. You are very uniquely positioned because you're getting to speak to the youth, and you're getting to have all of these conversations and getting to really hear the hearts of people in the world at a scale that a lot of people don't. They usually get to talk to, maybe you talk to 50 people every day in your regular life, but you get to consume much more conversation than the average person. Do you think we are in a state of moral degradation right now? Do you think we're in a state of revival? I mean, what is kind of the appetite right now, especially in the youth, for Christianity?
Overwhelming. I believe that we have revival for about a month and a half before, people came in with the conspiracies and eradicated it. I feel like right now there is a hunger within the youth and culture. What we're seeing is companies aren't rainbowifying their logos in June. We saw that last June. I think we're going to see a lot more of it. We saw the Sydney Sweeney Good Jeans commercial that went viral and stayed viral for about a month. Society is starting to accept what is logical. The next step is for it to accept and to encourage and to mandate what is good and natural. And we're seeing that in students. When we're on campus, obviously U of U is a very gay and or I should say gay positive and liberal school.
Yeah.
We had a lot of students that walked by and gave us thumbs up and high fives and stuff for being there. And then the students that we talked to, there were some of them that were kind of touched by the Spirit, but also ones that were just interested, tired of the division, tired of hate, that wanted to actually know what we had to say or what we felt. We actually had a couple students that would walk away and come back and say, "Hey, I looked up what you said and you were right. Where can I find out more?" So I believe that there's a hunger and a need in these students to not be as polarized or divided anymore. I think they're tired of it. I think that, especially social media with AI, we're in a time where, narratives can easily be debunked and eradicated. And I think that, doing that final push and focusing on mission is what conservative influencers and leaders, even new leaders, need to do, is to keep pushing forward, because we're almost there. Are we going to be all the way there? No. We know about the tribulation. We know at the end of times that, when Jesus returns, the country is going to be incredibly wicked. But what we can do is build our strongholds, find our people, bring people in. So when that time comes, we'll be ready.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really important point to note, because a lot of the people, I hesitate to say it, but like the copycats, and you know what I mean, of, Charlie.
Breland Hollyand? You talking about?
Yeah. Him maybe.
He has a 98% disapproval rating from the College Republicans of America. They put out a poll
Really?
for their leadership. Yeah, 98%.
Well, I think the thing that led to that was, the first time I ever saw him, dude was taking a video of himself on a jet right after Charlie died, and it just seemed really in bad taste and not the right time. I don't want to bash on anybody, but
no, you can bash on him, yeah. Okay.
yeah. To a larger point, I think there was a lot of people immediately in Charlie's death that kind of tried to like fill the shoes, or they were like, I'm going to be the next Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to go set up a table at a college campus. But the problem with that I saw, that they missed one really, really important part of Charlie. And there are videos where I actually disagreed with the way Charlie did it, but 99% of the time he did a good job of it. And what it sounds like you're doing an excellent job of is you're not just going and sitting down and trying to dunk on college kids. You know what I mean? Like, we have people that go and sit there and they just want to score political points. They just want to be right. They just want to win an argument. When really it should come from a place of empathy and humbleness, to where I want you to understand the truth, but more importantly, I want you to have a relationship with Jesus. But first, in order to do that, we have to establish a relationship. And if you can't effectively do that because you're just dunking on people, then your message isn't getting across anyway. So a testament to the fact that people are coming back to you and are humbling themselves enough to come back and say, hey, you were right about this. I'm so glad we had this conversation, I think is a testament to the fact of how humble you are coming at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I can completely say that. And, it has a lot to do with with the mentorship that I was in. For about a year and a half, I learned how to live and breathe Psalms. Completely redefined my view of this movement of like the spiritual war. We called it a cultural war, but it's a spiritual war, and I was able to look at it. And, having that hatred in my heart towards the left drop and dissipate enables me to do what I do today. I had no idea that when I decided to go under that discipleship for a year and a half, that it would be preparing me for what I'm doing right now. And, I feel that, it's not just me. Everyone on my team, Aiden Nicholas, Kai Schwimmer, Hazel Roberts, and Fabricio Gonzalez, they're all of equal mind and of equal heart. And what we're trying to do is, again, identify, develop, and deploy like-minded individuals into colleges and high schools full-time year-round. So I would like, ideally in 2027, 2028, I would like 3 different influencing teams in every region across the country, going to colleges and spreading the word of God full-time. So that's what we're doing, man.
That's an incredible goal, dude.
Yeah. And the thing is that we have been blessed with an amazing partnership network of over 7.1 million followers on Instagram. So, and then with our partnership with Off the Record, we can actually brand, monetize influencers so they can be in the field full time. And then we can, instead of just creating someone to make their branding look good, and we can literally put them in front of an audience of over 7.1 million people immediately. So if they have the talent and the skill and the determination from God, we can and have created influencers. And we're going to continue to. So the cool thing is that I'm not looking for someone with 100,000 followers. If he happens to have 100,000 followers, yeah, cool. I can take someone from 0 and bring them up as long as they have the heart. And we've done it, so, and we're going to do it more.
Dude, the reason that's amazing is it goes back to my point of like, you have people that aren't trying to dunk on people. They're coming from the right mindset. They're coming from the right heart. And you get to cherry pick those people you get to vet them first before they become famous. And we get to put Christians that are going to spread the right morals, the right values, the right ideas in the limelight instead of having other people that don't feel the same way in the limelight instead. Mm. That's really powerful, dude. So I'm super excited. The way I've been following you the past few months and seeing kind of your journey of like your moral and I guess I don't want to say intellectual, I guess religious journey to where you were a sole entity yourself. Obviously your following was growing and now you are branching this out to other people. I actually have a really good analogy for this. I had my local pastor that I grew up in. I mean, I did the episode solely for me. Obviously he has no audience. But he gifted me a plant and he calls it his Avenel plant at the end of the episode. And he calls it his Avenel plant because there was this lady in the church that was salt of the earth. She was a super godly, amazing woman, took care of all the elders in the church. And a month before she died, he went and brought her a plant and gifted it to her. And then she died on Christmas Eve when the Christmas star was out. So really cool way to die. I hope I die like that. But anyway, at her funeral, this lady, her sister brought the plant back to this pastor and handed it to him and said, nobody should take this plant except for you. You're the only one that could handle this with the care that I know it deserves. And so what he started to do is he started cutting off parts of that plant and then replanting it and giving it to people. So anybody that he thinks spreads the word of God and the right values, he cuts off a piece of his plant and he gives them a plant. So I think what you're doing is very similar. I think you are the Avenel plant, and I think you are cutting off parts of yourself, you're placing it in other people, and you're allowing it to grow.
That's the plan. That is the plan, and that's what I intend to do until I have no more. I don't have any more to give. And it's been an incredible. There has been an incredible balance with it. Like, the influencers that I've risen up are actually growing at a more rapid rate than I am, and I've actually slowed down. And I've always thought of Moses, and I don't compare myself to Moses in any way, but I've always thought of Moses that, like, eventually, just like Moses, I'm going to pass it off to a Joshua, because the thing is that the next Generation Alpha, Generation Z, are going to listen to someone close in their age and their understanding. And we're raising those people up. So eventually I will pass off to a Joshua, to a Jude, and to an Esther, and move on and not do something different, probably do what I'm doing right now, going to college students. But, obviously I don't really intend or expect to be like the next big thing. I intend to raise up several people that will take that mantle that Charlie left and bring it forward. And if I can be part of that, I would consider myself blessed.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. I think I want to get into kind of a touchy subject here. We have some more unrest in Minneapolis after the drama that just happened with the ICE officer. So how do we look at what happened through a biblical lens? And if this does metastasize and grow, all these kind of, they're not quite riots yet, but demonstrations, I guess we'll call them. If they do metastasize and grow into something of similar scale to the Black Lives Matter movements, how do we look at it from a biblical lens? And as Christians, how do we look at the original situation and what sparked it?
As Christians, as men, we are called to defend the meek and the defenseless. We did so in 2020, and I believe that in the coming months we're going to be called to do so again. We have an incredible administration. We have incredible governors in most states that will protect their citizens. But what we saw in 2020 is that that's not enough, and that citizens are going to have to rise to defend, or Christians will have to rise and defend the meek and the defenseless. And I believe it's going to happen. It's an incredible thing, though, because every time that something like this happens, like the left comes up and they start burning buildings and breaking things down, it emboldens new leaders to rise. The passion, the sensationalism emboldens new leaders to rise, or can light the spark in leaders who have lost it. I would say that I'm both worried for this country, but I'm also excited to see who will answer that call. I believe that, it's going to be very clear that the people that are rioting and, advocating for people who, for advocating for ICE officers to die. It's very obvious that they are wrapped in the lies of the adversary. And I believe that we're going to see a new wave, other than the wave that I'm trying to launch, rise. And I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah. Do you think, coinciding with the movement that you are trying to spark, do you think there will be an equal and opposite reaction and force pushing against you?
Can you elaborate on that?
I think, I'll put it this way. I think every time that Jesus deploys and God deploys his strongest soldiers to go accomplish his will and accomplish his mission, which I think that you are, the devil also employs his strongest demons to go work against that force. In the same way that Charlie was one of God's strongest soldiers, Satan put out a demon that day to end that, in an effort to end that movement. Do you think that you'll see, not necessarily something to that magnitude, I'm not going to say, that there's going to be more assassination attempts. I certainly hope not. But do you think that sort of the evil movement that we've been seeing of the rise in transgenderism and the mind virus of anti-Christian values, do you think we'll continue to see that rise the more that we push against that?
Yeah. It's rising right now, and we're not even pushing against it. They've been pushed into a corner, and they're pushing back in a very big way. And, that's the reason why it's essential what Rewaken USA is doing, as well. Everyone else is focused on fame, notoriety, conspiracy, and living in camps. Rewaken USA stands in the gap. To raise up these leaders, to bring leaders from these other camps into our fold, to form coalitions and partnerships. We started off with $0, and right now we have partnerships that could be in the worth of the hundreds of thousands, just because God has put us all together. I would argue to say that other than TurningPoint USA, Live Action, Students for Life, I would say that we have the influence, the capability and potential influence to not only join them, but to stand beside them as an equal organization, even in the 4 months of our formation. We saw that with our account network that we fully deployed and utilized with that terroristic threat video, making that video go to the front of every news story, #1 story on X. And it wasn't because of the sensational video. It was because of the network and the coalition that we have brought together in a short 4 months. We plan to do that again, over and over and over again, to platform the right people, the right messaging, and to push forward the gospel into the front of this movement. So I'm very excited, man.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I think the next thing I have, I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't like naming names specifically, but at the same time, I think certain people need to be called out. There's a lot of drama recently going on, and it's my least favorite trend maybe of all time, where we have Christians hating on other Christians. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we have the Erica Kirk, Candace Owens beef, I guess you can call it. We had did you see, this one's a little bit more niche, the Forrest Frank and Jelly Roll stuff that was going on earlier in the year. We just have like these random disputes where we have Christians that should be on the same side. We should be pushing we have the same values, we have the same beliefs, and we're like coming after each other. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So that's the spirit of the adversary. It's the spirit of contention. And if you focus on that, you're going to lose sight on the mission. So I believe that, especially with the other stuff that didn't mention, I'm going to mention, when it comes to the anti-Israel and the pro-Israel stuff, that divided our movement before Charlie died. And I believe that we can do two things at once. We can have the difficult conversations within the body, while at the same time focusing on the mission, discipling the next generation, pushing and forming against the adversary. That's why we're building coalitions. Our coalitions are comprised of anti-Zionists, pro-Zionists, conspiracy theorists, but we've all met on the conclusion that we want to further Charlie's work and, in extension, or I guess in overall, God's work and His will. So I believe that as we move forward, that we will see the movement or the base cast out those who cause division.
Yeah.
I believe it's already happening, and I believe that it's going to happen a lot more, especially as they will look for leaders as our country descends into turmoil again.
Do you think, is there anything that you've seen in the past several months, to use the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk thing as an example, have you seen anything where if there was just a biblical mentor in the situation, where if both sides had just been listening to someone that was well-versed in their faith, that the beef would have been squashed immediately and we could have come back together? No, but I believe that we can come back together. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that, the strife that was in and is in our movement needed to happen. I believe that, questions needed to be asked, and that without Charlie, without a leader, we needed to realize what worked and what did not work, and who to support and who not to support. And supporting contention is not something that we can do anymore. Charlie Kirk was the man that stood in the gap. He kept the movement together. He helped dictate it. He helped rise other leaders to lead alongside him. And when he died, everything, as you said, people tried rising up to replace him. People started breaking down their people, using the opportunity to rise themselves up by stepping on others. And in the end, we saw nothing, no fruits. It bore no fruits. And then we see Cam Hagby and Nick and David Kyatt, forgot to mention him, Fabian going out and doing the work, realizing that the focus shouldn't be on contention. It should be on going and doing the work, being in culture and leading. And the reason why we waited 3 months before getting into the fold or into the battlefield was because we wanted to have everything we would need to fight. And now we do. Not just to lead, but to also provide any type of support that our colleagues that are in the field need, along with our own influencers. You brought up Nick Shirley there, and I think he's a really interesting cat, just because of the nature of how he rose to fame so quickly. Have you talked to him? Do you have a relationship with him? So I'm not gonna comment on relationships or people that I do talk to, but I will say that I fully support him and what he's doing. No, that's a thing you don't want to do. Sure. But yeah, no, I do know that that Nick and people like Nick, Cam Hagby, I do know that they don't really care about the fame. Yeah. It's not the thing that matters to them. They want to go out and do the work that, they were told was going to happen within this presidency, and they're going out and doing it. They're exposing it. They're shedding light on things that light needs to be shed on, and they're risking their lives in the process. I can tell you that the fame means nothing to them. It just gives them more access to expose principalities, actually expose the principalities that matter in a more expedited rate. I didn't mean to insinuate that it didn't matter Nick in any way. My point of saying that is my initial worry about people, because he did rise so quickly. I mean, when I had never heard his name before, and then all of a sudden he posted the most watched view on X ever. So this is a guy that immediately got launched into a different kind of scrutiny. So my worry with people like that is you don't want that weight to come crushing down on them. You know what I'm saying? And then he's jumping on all these different podcasts and he's somebody that I've had in my prayers recently, because like, this is a guy that's spreading truth, that's doing what he's clearly called to do. But at the same time, as we were talking about before, an equal and opposite force is going to come at him. And I've seen videos posted by everybody across the internet the past couple days. There was one the other day, even down to just picking out semantics in his speech. Like, he didn't know what the word benevolent meant and then mispronounced it, and people jumped all over him for it. So it's more so just worrying that, like, I hope he has the stability and the support system and the people around him that are going to push him and guide him. And the same way I was talking about Erica and Candace, and I wish there would be biblical mentors in their lives that would kind of tap them on the shoulder and have the braveness to say, like, hey, you know, this direction that you're heading down maybe isn't the best direction. I hope Nick has someone similar in a support system that's going to help guide him through the noise and the mess and ultimately lead him back to his calling with Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I fully believe that he does. I know that he does. And I just know that, like, with everything, you know, everything that you do, when you do something that makes an impact, you have to speak and stand for it, stand in front of it and stand by it. And that's what he did. And the thing is that, like, I know that people like him, people like Cam, they answer those interviews, those press calls, going to the White House and stuff like that, so they can bring attention not to them but to what they exposed, or what they brought to light. And I know that I've recently told my security team, I'm not a Nick Shirley. We experienced that when I went out into the streets with Antifa a couple of nights ago, and I realized that this is not what I want to do. I want to be on the campuses. Yeah. So they're doing something that a lot of people just don't have I wouldn't say the balls, but the affinity for, the calling for it.
Yeah.
And I know that what they do and how they do it, they do it with really good intentions, and I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Last couple of questions here. I want to be conscious of your time. I know you've had a busy day. Obviously, you're impacting a lot of people's lives. You have a massive reach at this point, both in person and through your various channels of social media, and then through the organization. But what you're creating right now, I think, is a legacy that is not focused on you, but it's a legacy focused on God. Mm-hmm. But for the people that are closest to you, your family, your friends, the people within your organization, what message do you want to impart on them? Do you want to leave on them after you've left the organization behind and eventually one day you've moved on?
I don't think I'd ever leave the organization behind. I think
one day you will, by choice or not. Like, you and me are both going to die one day, and hopefully this is something that lasts much longer than you.
Mm-hmm. I think that, and something that I've always told them, is to lead in Christ, to not only have discernment but pair it with knowledge. It's something that I had to learn over a year of intense study and mentorship. Is that discernment? When you have discernment without knowledge, it can lead to anxiety. If you have knowledge without discernment, it can lead to a lot of mistakes or trial and error. If you pair both together, it's hard to ever be wrong. You have to keep yourself open to the sense. You have to protect your sensitivity to the Spirit above all else, and that comes with personal accountability, and seeking Christ and God in all things. It's been something that's been consistent with me. It's why we've been able to form this organization and this tour in 4 months, is because I listened to both my knowledge and my experience and also discernment. And that's the only message that I would lead to them, because, walking with God, a lot of people say it, but you need to intentionally do it. It's an everyday thing.
That's awesome. James, thank you so much for your time, man. That was a great episode, and I'm super excited to see what's coming with the organization and what you do on down the road, and I look forward to following it. And I think your movement is blessed by God, and I think it's actually God's movement. So really excited to see where it goes, and thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.